Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Matt Capper and there's another video on Raid Shadow Legends. And at long last, long overdue, the first I built them so you don't have to for 2022. And today we're going to talk about a champion that I've had built for some time, just never got around to test. So without further ado, let's talk about Sawai, Firstborn. Utter Rampage. Attacks all enemies. Has a 75% bookable to 100% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Deaden Reactions. Attacks 1 enemy. Before attacking, has a 75% chance, bookable to 100% chance, of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Render Helpless. Attacks 1 enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Places a 50% increased attack buff and a 30% increased crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns if this attack kills an enemy. How I built out Suwai Firstborn, as you can see here. Let's take a look at the stats. One thing I will note right away, very low HP. That is very difficult to deal with in some of the content that I want to take her into. So probably going to have to rebuild her out for not max damage to kind of ease up on the damage a little bit in order to make that survivability. Or just make sure I have a reviver and someone like a Brogni that puts those nice shields up. Someone to keep her alive in the meantime. But 28070, 4568 attack. Not a crazy attack number. I'm not using my top set here like I normally do. I normally don't steal my top set because you guys are pretty smart, and if you see what the numbers are comparatively at 4500, you can figure out what it's going to be at 55 and 65 and whatever your cap is depending on your gear. There's no point in me putting my best gear on if it's not going to tell you what she's going to do for you. I don't know what gear you have, and that really, it's dependent on that. So this number is arbitrary, just knowing that this is the number to achieve the damage we're going to get. Speed of 189. Could have went lower except for where we're taking her in for damage testing. The Hydra boss. Surprise, surprise. Then, I needed the speed. I actually needed the speed a little bit more than this, but this speed worked for the testing we were doing. 220 crit damage and accuracy 222. I did get the accuracy at 222 using a perception set and an attack banner. I like that because it gave me some free attack stats. It's a big deal. Same with the this bit here is going with a double attack on there. That, man, that's an extra 91. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 91 attack when you're playing with gear that doesn't give you the big 7,000 attack numbers. It's a pretty big deal. Also had some accuracy on it to get us to that number. I definitely recommend her accuracy. Don't build Sawai. You're losing, you've lost. If you're just building Sawai out for damage, you're building her out for damage with debuffs. And I would say the debuffs arguably more important to her kit, even though she does potentially immense damage. So Masteries, these are the Masteries I used for this entire video, both the Hydra boss damage challenge or damage examples that you're going to see after this, and in the run you saw before. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to actually change this because I'm going to spend the gems because I actually believe there's a better overall number here. And I just want to show you what I feel is the most useful way to master her. I usually, because she was a nuker, I took her down defense, but I'm telling you right now, just based on what I saw in what she ended up being there for and doing, this is always the fun one. What's more important? She's gonna lose damage a lot. I think she's going to be spending more time there. Yeah, you can play around with that one. It's always fun to wonder whether you want that 5% when she's full, which will give you the biggest initial hits. But in a sustained fight, you might want this. So I actually recommend. There's a couple of reasons. First of all, her A1 is way more impactful in sustained fights than I give it credit for when I was initially building her out. So because of that, I want this. I want that extra 5% to land that defense down on her A1. It's a 50% by base. There's no way to increase it other than this right here. And the other thing is Master Hexer. She puts an AoE attack down. That's 100%. That extending that is a big deal, as well as being able to extend that A1 if she's able to land it, plus the weaken on her A3. So though I didn't build it out this way, this is the way I would go, and the reason for War Master is going to become apparent in the final thoughts. But here is the build. Here's what I would go with, and then depending on where you're using her, I would probably sacrifice this percentage of attack here, especially if you can get better attack from your artifacts. Get some HP on her, get her in that 35k range for HP, or make sure you have someone that can continually pick her up, help her survive, mitigate damage, anything you can do to keep her alive. So just keep that in mind, that this is more of a glass cannon build for her, in spite of the fact that I didn't really get to the attack that I would have loved to get to in this gear. So there's my thoughts. Now let's take her into the Hydra boss, where we're going to test her some damage versus some familiar faces. All right, here we are. Yes, it does look like I did change my clothes because it's actually the next day, just in case you guys are like, what the shit just happened? That's what happened. I needed to do some other things and come back to filming this. You don't care, but I told you anyway. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into Hydra boss. I thought it'd be a neat new way. Neat might be an overstatement, but a new way of showing some of the damages here. The three that we're really concentrating on, of course, Little Miss Annie is the hardest hitting single target champion in this encounter, and her numbers are staggering. Granted, I don't have a Turvold. I can't do that. There are some other champions that can ramp up their damages, but there's something about Annie with her A3 and that double hit that just hits ridiculous numbers. So it's a good one to use here. Rotos, everyone's usually fairly familiar with what Rotos can do. And then finally Sawai, who is the champion of note. We are bringing Gerptuck so we can block that poison cloud and so that we can ramp up the damage a bit. It's just fun to see those big numbers, but obviously you can extrapolate and say, well, I'm not using him, so 30% less damage is what I'm going to see. Duchess, just so we don't get feared, and of course Lydia for the fear debuffs. And just so we are aware, in Savage, 37, 5100 attack is the biggest number, 223 crit damage, at 216 speed for Little Miss Annie. When we look at Rotos, we're looking at in Savage 5800, 182 at 253 crit damage, and finally Sawai in Savage, total stats 4568, 189 speed, 220 crit damage. So she does have lower numbers than the others. That's fine. We're gonna get a good idea. You know, add 500, 600 attack to her would be difficult to compare because these both have a better base, but it's going to give you a good kind of indication. Also keep in mind that the two of these actually have ignored defense mechanics on their A3s. She doesn't. So there's going to be naturally a difference in the amount damage they do. It's just inherent in the game. It's going to be even bigger when it's not debuffed, but when there's full weaken and defense down already, it's still going to be there. Finally, we did put Sawai in with Helm Smasher, and the other two actually have War Master for Hydra boss encounters. So just an FYI. All right, so let's get rid of the fear issue. Let's get some blocks in there. Good, nice, lots of poisons. Let's get a defense down and weaken. Good. Now here's her A3. Like I said, ignores 25% of the defense. Decrease the target's max HP. The big thing is we'll repeat the attack if the target has both higher defense and max HP. Spoiler alert, it does, and that was 400 and 30,000 damage. What? She might actually have Helm Smasher, because there was a 40,000 different. I gotta look at that. Maybe she has Helm Smasher. Maybe I was wrong. All right, now we're gonna do Sawai's A3. Now keep in mind this does place a weaken, so if you don't have a Lydia, if you're just using like a Stagnite, she's actually a very good champion when you're doing this strat where you're just 200,000. When you're just concentrating on a single champion, she's gonna put that weaken down. So that's gonna help the rest of your team ramp up that damage if you're trying this single target strategy in the Hydra. Which might be the only way, you know, early on. Looks like one of the few ways to use her. Let's see what's going on. Right. I really want to get to Rotos. I don't know why. Is he? Oh, of course he gets taunted. Of course he does. Alright, we'll get a chance to see her A2 here then. Why not? It's got a decreased attack. Another really good ability. An AoE decreased attack in this particular encounter is actually ridiculously strong. Here's the A2 by Annie. 40, 80,000, say. Maybe Rotos will get a chance to go. Maybe not. I don't even know why he hasn't gone yet, to be honest with you. He keeps losing turn meter. Let's heal him up. Ah, got him. Alright. Alright. Oh, now we're going to see her A1. And we're going to see Suwai's A1. 89,000. 90,000 roughly. Can he get a chance to go? I feel like there's something inherently wrong in what's going on here, but I don't know what. I haven't been paying attention. I didn't think there was a turn meter crutch like this. Okay. Because he's low in health, let's use his A2 here. 133. Hey, we can just play this all day. I just want to get to his A3 to kind of show you. I mean, you know, it's going to be around 200,000 as well. I'm actually really happy overall with the damage that Sawai is able to do here. And I think her kit actually lends really well to the Hydra. Shocked to say that a champion put out over a year ago might be an option in the Hydra boss, which wasn't the intention of this little testing, but oh, we got eaten. So we'll stop there. You saw the kind of damages she can do. I wish I could. Freer Group would show the damages, but it obviously doesn't. So there's Sawai. She's not going to hit as hard as Annie because of Annie's mechanic, but she was keeping pace. She's got an AoE with a decreased attack. Very actually good. You saw the damages. They're not bad, right? They're decent. And I think the kit looks really well for Hydra. So there you go. We have her in some damage testing. You saw her in the pre with her kit. Let's go to final thoughts on Sawai Firstborn. Okay, final thoughts here. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When I first went to build Sawai and all the time I've had her, I immediately didn't like her. I felt like there was not enough here. Look, her HP is pretty low. It's difficult to deal with. The attack isn't that high. There are higher epic champions that attack. Her speed's under 100. Kind of everything about that is just okay. She has a single target that puts a weaken. So effing what? She has a decreased attack AoE, which is a nice one. You put some books into this. By the way, the books, 6 here, 5 here, and another 4 here. If you get lucky, you don't have to book out these, but the damage is nice. And again, her A1 has a decreased defense. It's only 50% chance. This whole I always hate this. If it kills someone, it gives you something good to kill someone. I don't like that. I've never been a fan of it. So her kit, when I read it, I was like, meh, boo. But after testing her in various areas, I think this is a sleeper champion that we have to wake up on. I think that Suwai Firstborn is a strong champion when you consider the content out there that she has now grown into. A year and a half ago, Barbarians, you can mitigate some damage with that defense or with that attack down on certain champions that you're up against, so I guess that could be nice. But the kit wasn't it was lukewarm. But now that you consider Doom Tower, where you're dealing with specific champions, where she's got such a hard-hitting A3, you can put a weaken down. So if you're using a Stag Knight, with the attack down, defense down, she can put the weaken. The flip side, you already have the weaken or defense down, or you're using, say, like a Tyrell who only has a single target attack down and has just the defense down. You have a weaken on specific targets. You have an AoE attack down, which is huge in Doom Tower. Huge, even more so in the Hydra boss. And I think we have a champion here that, in my opinion, is a good second option for the Hydra boss, and I think more people need to wake up to Sawai and really see what she can do, because, and I promise you, I'm working on it so hard. I know I mentioned when the Hydra was first going to come out, I was going to build some all epic comps for the Hydra boss. It's been, obviously, as we all know about the Hydra, it's been a lot more challenging than I'd like it to be, but I think I can do it on this rotation. I think this is the champion that I want to feature on it, because her kit for the Hydra boss is bang on. This current rotation, especially, where the goal isn't to kill all the heads, or a goal is to not kill all the heads, but instead kill one head and just you know, dish as much as you can on that one head, just to pick on the head of Torment, usually because it's the easiest to kill. And what do you have when you're looking at that? You have a vicious hitting A3. This A3 was keeping up to Annie and Rhodos' damage. Now Annie gets to hit a second time, so, you know, it's only half of that, but hey, Annie's a Void legendary. She should hit like that, whereas Suwai, being an epic Void, I think she held her own there. Plus, she's adding a weaken. Now, we were using Lydia, but again, imagine you're not using Lydia. Imagine you're using someone with just a defense down. There's lots of them. A lot of people are using Ugo, right? Who puts a defense and a block, very strong for that Hydra boss. In comes Sawai as that weaken on that target champion that you're trying to single target attack down. But she also has an AoE, which is a decreased attack. That head of anger, I can't remember his name, head of wrath, hits really hard when you get that tick up to that 15th tick on his ability. So having that decreased attack is paramount, especially for people who don't have platinum level, I call it platinum level or end game or whale gear. Having that attack down is critical. But hey, the other bosses don't exactly tickle. They hit pretty decently too, and having that AoE attack down is very strong in this encounter, and it doesn't do bad damage. She does reasonable damage, and even her A1, where obviously the second part of it, which I don't like of her kit anyway, the increased attack, increased crit damage, because you have to kill a champion, that doesn't come into play against the Hydra. I haven't been able to test it where if she lands a killing blow, but I've never seen any other encounter where I expect that to actually happen. Maybe it will, but the Hydra boss is technically not dead, so I doubt that'll mechanic will happen for her. But it still has a decreased defense, right? So it's just an extra opportunity. I wouldn't come in without a debuffer, but this is just in that rotation. Usually you've got a 2-turn cooldown on a 3-turn ability, sometimes a 4-turn ability. So this, again, on that single target, allows you to get that defense up more often. And if you're brave enough to try counterattack with a high resist team, then hey, you've got a decreased defense that can potentially land on every single champion, which allows you to not bring in a decreased defense champion if you don't have that option, right? You're using Umbral for the blocks, and you bring in Sawai to put in the weaken and decreased defense, and away you go. There are options that this champion is giving you that I don't think she was giving a year and a half ago because of Hydra, and I would also extend that to Doom Tower, where sometimes you just need some specific answers to some really tough encounters in some of those higher levels of the Doom Tower. So my overall for Sawai is actually Builder. If you're already doing Hydra, you're doing Nightmare, you have all the legendary champions, you don't need her, but you don't need me to tell you that. But for the rest of you, if you're sitting on Sawai and you're thinking, geez, how am I going to beat the boss? I think you found your kit. I think you found your champion. I recommend her for the Hydra boss. I'm going to build her out and put her in a comp and hopefully get a video at some point using her in the Hydra boss, because I think this is one of those sleepers that's really going to help you. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was helpful with the look at Sawai Firstborn. It's been a while since I've been pleasantly surprised by a champion. I either know going into it that they're good or bad. This was an amazing video to do because here's one I thought she was going to be bad, and she actually surprised me quite well. Please consider liking and subscribing. About 70% of you who watch these do not subscribe, and that makes my heart hurt. And as you may or may not know, I'm trying to get to 8,000 subs, and we're going to give away an account. We're going to whale out on it, blah, blah, blah. Previous videos have mentioned it. So please consider subscribing and hitting that notification button, which helped me in the algorithm and help me grow as a channel. Other than that, as always, please be safe, be kind, and we'll see you in the next video.